Hey now, what's going on, folks? It's your boy JG right here. It's your guy Neal McCready up there from rebelgrove.com, and this is going to be the GPITS show for today. I've got the music playing in the background for a minute. I know Neal loves it, man.
It is very nice.
Listen to that. He's really enjoying that slow jam. All right, so we got a lot to discuss today. Not looking great for college football in light of these MLB problems. So we'll talk about that for show. And then we'll also talk about some other stuff. Specifically, my alma mater, Transylvania University, and schools of that ilk. Man, are they going to be able to survive this?
K.O., baby.
I don't know if they'll be able to survive, man. That scares me. I'm glad my daughter ended up choosing a much bigger school. I mean, Ole Miss going to be fine. Auburn's going to be fine. South Alabama's going to be fine. But I'm talking about smaller liberal arts schools. Neal? No, brother.
Well, I will say this, Jay, that a lot of these schools that you say are going to be fine, they're going to survive. The whole "they're going to be fine" thing is a little different matter entirely. They're like Ole Miss. They're taking pretty big budget cuts with being told, hey, more budget cuts could come in the spring if enrollment drops again. So, gonna hurt a little bit.
It's gonna hurt a little bit. Yeah, everybody's gonna be hurting a little bit. All right, well, I guess we can probably just get this show started. Gabriel's not going to be with us this week. He has something else going on. Gabe is kind of like, we get him on when we can, and sometimes we can't, and that's just life, Should I drink today?
You want to send me that link and I'll post and stuff, or?
I can just put it on y'all's site, no problem.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah,
just give me a half a second here to do that.
Okay.
I really didn't want you to have to do those pods back to back, brother.
No, I'm good. This is my third podcast of the day. I did a podcast with Andy Staples this morning, and then Chance the Yapper and I just did an Oxford Exxon podcast, and so now I'm gonna do this one with you. I'm fresh, man. It's Monday. When I do them on Thursdays, sometimes I end up doing like 4, and that fourth one, I don't know how Adam Carolla, whether you like Adam Carolla or not, Adam Carolla does 8,000 podcasts, and I don't know how he does it every week. I would just get worn out.
Yeah, I get worn out from doing 2 a day if I do 2 a day, and
he has days where he does 5-6 podcasts in a day. And
how do you stay fresh doing that?
I don't know how he does it. I mean, he's great at it. He's made an absolute fortune. He's the most downloaded podcaster, I think, in podcasting history.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm vaguely aware of who he is.
He does. I don't listen to his daily show very often, but I listen to his show with Mark Garagos, the attorney. They do a show called Unreasonable Doubt every Saturday, and it's really good podcast. I like it a lot.
All right. They said you were a little bit loud, which is something I need to fix. Can you talk to us a little bit more, McCready?
Yes, I will be happy to continue to talk. And been listening this week. I'm excited about my American Elections podcast.
Yeah.
is coming in. They're up to 1960, which is a fascinating election. 1960 in American history. Kennedy versus Nixon. Two probably the most compelling political figures in American history.
Okay.
In a very contentious, tight election.
This is incredible. Yeah.
You're not as much into history as I am. I think stuff like that's fascinating. The stuff like on Eisenhower that they did was really, really good.
I will say, though, I listened to my very first podcast, like real podcast, last week. I don't think I've ever listened to a single podcast that wasn't mine until last week.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I just never even considered it until one of my friends insisted that I listen to this particular one put out by NPR, and so I did, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm going to try to find another one to watch.
I'll tell you one that I think you would like is, do you remember that song, Winds of Change? It was written by
Scorpions.
Yeah, Scorpions.
Uh-huh.
He opens it up with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole CIA. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. That it was written by the CIA as propaganda to try to appeal to young Soviets for the fall of to end the Cold War.
Yeah,
it came out right after the fall of the Berlin Wall.
It did, but it came out like a year and a half later because that was like I'm thinking summer of '91, maybe.
Yeah, they had a big rock concert, American rock concert in Moscow, and it was like the Scorpions and Bon Jovi was the headliner. But anyway, there's a whole podcast about it. It's really, really good.
What is it called?
Winds of Change.
Oh, okay. It's just about that.
It's just about that song, and ends up being about CIA propaganda and the KGB, and yeah, it's really, 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 really neat.
Okay, I'll take that under advisement. But I listened to the Embedded podcast by NPR, and it was about Mitch McConnell, because he interests me, and it was really good insofar as I didn't feel like they were trying to shit on him or make him look like a total stud. It was just kind of telling his story from people who like him and people who don't.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. You know, I felt like it was agendaless, and that was appreciated.
Yeah, NPR does they do some really good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a big podcast person. I like to listen to podcasts when I'm walking the dogs. I like to when I'm going for a long ride. If I'm driving someplace, like if I'm driving up to Fayetteville to see Campbell or whatever, I'll find a podcast that I can listen to for 6 hours. It's my thing. I find it to be very relaxing.
Leif B, a Rebel Grove star, and also on this show and my show actually on Saturday nights. There's a friend of his who's a producer on the Winds of Change podcast, and also helped fact check S-Town, which is like that's like
S-Town's based in Alabama.
The show itself is. Yeah,
the podcast is based on a story in Alabama. That's Leif can probably vouch for this. That is a crazy story. And it kind of goes down this path that you don't expect it to. It was really good. I listened to that.
Word.
Yep.
So I feel like there's this whole entertainment thing that I hadn't really gotten into. I'm not sure I would just be loving podcasts top to bottom, but yeah, I bet you there's ones out there that I would really enjoy. So I'm going to look more into that.
Oh, there are for sure. I mean, you're a guy that likes a lot of music. You can drive down the road and listen to music all day, I think. But you know, there are some people that after about an hour or two of that, they're like, okay, I want to change a pace. And I think podcasts are great about that.
Me and Wednesday Adams, we like to listen to pop music. Your boy,
were you more the Addams Family or the Munsters?
Oh, Addams Family for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Your boy got a little bit lit on the Brain Drain the other night. I think that you were lit too, because you don't usually call me and say, hey, I want to get on the show, man.
Yeah, I wanted to just say hello.
Well, you did, and it was appreciated.
Neal and Avery Forbes were over at the house, and they wanted to hear from you as well. So,
well, I mean, Neal and Avery.
We checked in on our boy Jay.
Neal and Avery are great, and obviously your wife's. You know, I mean, I'm a big fan.
Yeah, we had olives.
No, that's what I like to hear, Neal.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
All right. You ready to get rolling?
I think so. I will do my best on the cat head thing again.
You did very well the other day, although I was disappointed that you did not do the you didn't do the voice. You had done a certain voice for the cat head stuff. And
Cathead Distillery in Jackson, Mississippi. That kind of thing, you mean?
Yeah, well, no, you had some fun with it. By the way, I think I found, where is it? I think I found a recipe for the pecan vodka of cat head, which you never really know, like kind of what to do with pecan vodka. There it is.
Yeah, you don't. That's not something that comes up very often. That's the green one, by the way. You see it on the shelf, it's green instead of the honeysuckle's like gold and blue. I guess gold. And then pecan is green. It's not as common. It's a tougher find. As the
Remind me that I've pulled this up. It's a pecan vodka Mississippi Mule.
Oh.
Yep. It's a recipe that was Carolyn O'Neal, who is a nutrition expert and an award-winning food writer and television personality.
Oh yes.
So I've got that up. So we can talk about that when we talk about Cathead.
Okay.
I'm gonna give that a shot. Because why not, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit of work, but I'll give it a shot.
I mean, work to me is you open the top and you make a pour. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. I understand. One of these days, though, if somebody else does the work, you'll try the drink, right?
Sure, of course. I mean, as long as it's not too girly. I don't think that slows you down.
No, this isn't. Now, it doesn't slow me down, but this is not particularly girly. It's like a mule, Moscow Mule, except it's different ingredients instead. Moscow Mule's not girly.
So we call that a pecan mule?
It's a pecan vodka Mississippi Mule, she calls it. I'm going to send some of it to you right now, so you'll have it, as a matter of fact.
Okay. I can do that.
I'm about ready.
I can do that.
Okay. All right.
We don't have to go an hour if you don't want to.
Okay, we can do whatever. We'll see. I'm ready whenever you are. What's this, 108? Episode 108?
It is 108. Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, we Gucci.
All right, 3, 2. Welcome into another edition of Greatest Pod in the South, sponsored by Automation and Control Systems, LLC. This is episode number 108. I'm Neal McCready. JG Tate with me as well here on this Monday afternoon. As I've learned to do in my other podcasts that I do in these COVID times when things in the sports world change, sometimes by the hour, we're starting this recording at 2:53 p.m. Central Daylight Time on Monday, July the 27th. August is almost here. There's a lot of news today in the sports world. None of it very good, in all honesty, but we'll talk about that. The Miami Marlins, their COVID breakout, what that might mean for MLB, what that could possibly mean for college football, and other stuff. We'll get to all of that in a minute. First, I want to tell you about ACS. It's owned by Clay McNutt in Baldwin, Mississippi. Established in 2013, ACS is a complete electrical control system solution provider and a Rockwell Automation recognized system integrator. ACS has a full-time dedicated emergency service and troubleshooting staff and a UL 508A panel shop. ACS can custom tailor software packages, custom design electrical control panel solutions, and much more. They have a full-service AutoCAD services provider and a full-service fiber optic cabling solution provider. If you're in need of custom HMI and SCADA solutions or large horsepower VFD specialist, ACS has you covered. ACS can service and install Rockwell Automation, Allen Bradley, Siemens, ABB, Square D, and many other manufacturers. For more information or to get in touch with ACS, go to acsllcms.com or call 662-601-4381. Again, that's acsllcms.com. I'm coming to you from the Clark Ford Studios. Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900. Just call that number the next time you're in the market for a vehicle, any vehicle. Get a quote. At the very least, it's going to give you something to move forward in your automotive shopping. It's going to stop you, hopefully, from getting snookered somewhere. And it just might get you intrigued to hop into a Clark Ford today. You'll love the service. You'll love the product. Corey wants to be your car guy. He wants to be your truck guy. He'll prove that to you when you make the call, 662-257-1900. Jay, how are you, sir?
Hello, coming to you live from Montgomery, Alabama. Cradle of the COVID in the state of Alabama, but that's okay. No big deal. We've been better, though. Been wearing masks. I went out to lunch today. I went out shopping today for a new pair of headphones, which I still don't have. These are my backups. My dog ate my other ones the other day. And so living life pretty normally, and it still blows me away that a lot of people in different parts of the country are not living their life normally day to day. I always wear a mask, and I keep a social distance from folks. I carry my Comfort and Mercy, which I have in a little bottle in my car. Always lather it up after I go in somewhere. And then as soon as I get home, I wash the heck out of my hands. And so far it's worked. So hoping.
Yep. So where do you want to start? You want to start with the Marlins? That's kind of the big story of the day.
Yeah, hell yeah. So the Miami Marlins announced this morning, or anyway, information came out that they had 11 players and 2 coaches tested positive.
I think that's right.
For the virus, and they were.
I've seen the number drop to 9, and I've seen it go as high as 13. So I don't really know where the number is, but they clearly had a breakout.
Yeah, had a breakout for sure. They were playing. That was this first series of the season, of the restarted season. Well, I guess it's the first start, but whatever.
Yeah,
like they're calling it 2.0, and they were playing in Philadelphia. So now the Marlins are still in Philadelphia, as last I heard. Correct?
Yeah, they're in Philly. They were scheduled to play tonight at home against the Baltimore Orioles. The Orioles had already flown to Miami after their opening series. The Orioles have since returned to Baltimore, and right now the Marlins are in quarantine in in Philadelphia at their hotel. And if all goes well, I think the plan, and this is why this morning it's over, that's it, tweeting was like, hey, hang on, hold up, let's wait and see a minute. Because as of right now, I think the plan is for the Marlins to bus to Baltimore. Philadelphia to Baltimore is a drivable trek.
Yeah.
Bus to Baltimore and perhaps play at Camden Yards as early as tomorrow night. They have a taxi squad. They'll have to bring some of those guys up, potentially a lot of those guys up. And this is something that we've talked about, Jay, with football, and it's going to be true. And man, it's hard for fans to accept this. And I don't mean that in a critical way, because you're so used to, let's say you're a Florida Gator fan. You're so used to watching the Gators, and the game is about winning the damn game. And this is the year where you want to win, you'd like to win, you're going to try to win, but getting the season in and getting the money and surviving and getting to normal times with the pulse is the goal.
All right.
And so for the Marlins, are they going to be their best version of themselves? No. I mean, they clearly have, and I'm told some of their higher profile players are who has tested positive, but they're going to bring up some of these other guys who've never played in the majors before. They're going to have a couple people who've never coached in the majors before come up and be part of the major league team. And it's probably going to hurt their on-field product, but it's not the point this year.
I hadn't thought about that. I did notice, because I've talked about it on the show. I don't like to go into too much depth on it because some people don't care, but I'm in a fantasy league where we have a lot of keepers. Neal used to be in the league, and we do a lot of minor leaguers. And so I have a minor league outfielder for the Cubs. I forgot his name right off because it's been so long since I drafted. I know he's tall and long, and the dude can run.
Brennan Davis.
That's it, Brennan Davis.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know MILB is shut down for the year, and I was like, God, what's going to happen to Brennan? They have 60-man rosters at the major league level right now. So if the Cubs were to be in a situation where they lost a few outfielders, it's possible that Brennan's going to have a chance to play this year when he would never have any chance to touch the field normally for the Cubs. So
he's in South Bend, Indiana. That's where one of their single A affiliates is in South Bend. And so they've got their taxi squad, for lack of a better term, training and staying in some semblance of baseball shape in South Bend.
All right.
And for Brennan Davis, I'm sure the Cubs are hoping, hey, we don't have to use him this year. They've got other outfielders, Jason Hayward and Ian Happ and Albert Almora and Kyle Schwarber and Steven Souza. They've got other outfielders that I'm sure are hoping that they can get them through 57 more games. The Cubs have played 3 games. They have 57 left on the schedule. But they can use South Bend for Brennan Davis not to lose a year of development, not a full year anyway, where they can work on him, let him continue to get instruction and stuff like that. But you're right, where if the Cubs were to have some sort of an outbreak where, let's say 3 of their starting outfielders or 3 of their top 5 outfielders had to be put on the shelf for 7 to 10 days or whatever, it's conceivable that the Cubs could bring up Brennan Davis and, hey, look, kid, do the best you can. We're going to hit you in the 9-hole. Don't worry about it. We're just trying to get through this. And because you're in a situation where it's not all about winning. It's about getting the season in. For the players, it's getting paid this percentage of the money. It's for the owners. It's salvaging some of the TV money. It's why they expanded the playoff to 16 teams. Owners make most of their money from the TV contract in October. It's all of that stuff, Jay. It's not just about this. This is the one season. Andy Staples was on my Oxford Exxon podcast early this morning with the Athletic, and we were talking about whoever wins anything this year. There's going to be a figurative asterisk by it. I mean, no one's ever going to look at the 2020 season and go, "Hey, they won the." It's always going to be the COVID year. Like, let's say, I'll use Florida. Let's use them again. Let's say Florida wins the SEC East. Yeah, we'll talk. Florida, I'm sure, will hang a banner or whatever, but it's always going to be about the COVID year. That story will always be what leads, the year in review will be that was the year of COVID and all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if I would look at it that way. I don't know if I would, because, it's going to be a weird season one way or another, whether we're talking about MLB or NBA, which is split in half, and then college football which is going to be weird anyway. But everybody's having to deal with these same obstacles. So if Florida were to win it, or Georgia, or Auburn, or whatever, I would just think it was legit. I would.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean it's going to cheapen it. I just mean it's going to be a part of the story, a big part of the story, especially at the professional level. Like in Major League Baseball, instead of a 162-game season, you're playing a 60-game season.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a completely different deal. People will say, well, this was a whoever wins it might be the team that can stay healthiest the longest, but it's going to be it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to have a different story told to it 20 years from now when you're writing a story about the 2020 World Series champion. Hopefully we have one. The first paragraph is going to be about COVID. It
was the COVID season. Yeah, I could see that.
And frankly, Jay, it kind of leads, as we talk about college football, it tells you that one of the things that will probably determine who can survive and win the most and all of that in college football might be the team that can be the most disciplined about sanitation, about personal habits, about staying, you can't build a bubble at Auburn for the football team.
No.
But the team can sort of bubble itself to a degree. The team can be smart. It might come down to which team is the luckiest as it pertains to the virus, which team is the smartest as it pertains to the virus. Lane Kiffin has talked here about, it might really change the way you practice. You might have to do some things differently. You might have to not have the whole team on the practice field on Tuesday the way that we're so used to seeing. Maybe you just practice, you have a 2.5 hour window of practice, but the offense is out on the field, for an hour, and then the defense comes out on the field for an hour. They're never on the field together at the same time on a practice field. All that stuff. He said you probably won't have as good of a product, but if the goal is to get through the season safely, you might have to sacrifice some of that. And I'll be honest with you, I think he's right.
Avery says in the chat, if it's up to luck, it won't be Ole Miss. Probably true, though.
That is a lot of truth.
It's a great point I hadn't thought about, Neal, that it's almost, assuming they get to play college football this year, it is going to be a race to see who can be almost the cleanest and the most disciplined, like you mentioned. I hadn't thought about that. And that adds that competitive element to that maybe it might tip the scales a little bit, where we can really benefit from following these rules, It's not just, hey, it's for your own health, and maybe some kids are skeptical, like nobody my age ever gets sick or whatever. But all of a sudden it's like, to stave off any positive tests, let's do this. Let's be really structured about what we're doing and do what we're supposed to do. And that's interesting, Neal. That is an interesting idea. Although at the end of the day, they're not in a bubble. They're out chasing tail like the way we did when we were that age. And so it's going to be dicey, I think.
Well, and I think it also, along those lines, it's going to be interesting that obviously a team that gets off to let's assume for the sake of this conversation that we have a season.
Yeah.
A team that gets off to a good start. There's going to be more incentive for them. Hey, man, this is going great. Let's everybody be careful. Let's be smart.
Yeah.
A team that gets off to a 1-4 start, where they're like, hey, look, man, we're not winning anything. There's nothing to play for. I'm tired of this discipline thing. I mean, I'm gonna go have some fun. I'm gonna go. I'm going to this party. I'm tired of talking about this. I'm sick of worrying about it. I'm gonna go do my thing. And then he gets it. Doesn't know it, he's asymptomatic, and then he spreads it through a room, and all of a sudden a team has a breakout, and here we are in week 6, and the 5-0 team is scheduled to play the 1-4 team, and the 1-4 team has 13 cases. And so that's the kind of stuff that I'm curious to see if that's what ultimately happens. But we're going to learn a lot, I think, from the way the Marlins handle this, the way Major League Baseball handles this. I guarantee you that if you picked up the phone right now and called Alan Green, he would know a lot about what's going on with the Marlins. He would be watching this. Everybody in college athletics is right now, their eyes are absolutely glued on Major League Baseball over the next few days.
Yeah, and I think when this first was coming down, because I haven't talked to anybody since this morning, but at the time when this was all developing, man, it was a bad situation for the people in college athletics, because they were like, here we go. This is, if the Marlins are going to have this huge breakout and it's going to have to cancel part of the season, I mean, that is just a harbinger of doom for college football. But there's still a chance, like you said, that they can kind of get this isolated, bring up another wave of Marlins to kind of fill those holes for the 10 days or 14 days that they're going to need to get these guys quarantined, feeling better, et cetera, et cetera. And you can just kind of move on. It's not a big deal. The only issue is this is the first one. Is there going to be another breakout with, the Indians or The
Well, the teams to
Padres,
watch right now, Jay, watch the Phillies.
Phillies, yeah.
Because the Phillies just played the Marlins. So watch the Phillies, watch the Braves. The Marlins played the Braves in Atlanta in some exhibition games before they headed up to Philly. The Braves had a couple players that didn't make the trip with them to New York because there were concerns about the virus. They had some symptoms. It's my understanding that both of those players tested negative. They don't have it. They just had a cold. So there's stuff to watch, but like another team to watch right now is the Reds.
Yeah.
And the Reds have had a little problem.
Moustakas.
Moustakas and Matt Davidson. And it seems like there's one other, Nick Senzel. Those guys have had symptoms. I don't know that any of them have tested positive. I know Moustakas went on the injured list. I don't know whether that was COVID related or not. It's possible that he got hurt. I mean, Justin Verlander got hurt. Corey Kluber got hurt. These are not COVID injuries. They're baseball injuries. So, Daniel Descalso for the Cubs went on the injured list, and that was an ankle foot kind of thing. It wasn't COVID. So watch the Reds. The Reds just got through playing the Tigers, so you have to watch the Tigers. But if those kind of teams can kind of keep going a little bit, maybe, like you said, maybe it's you breathe a breath of fresh air and you keep kind of moving on. It also tells you, and I know you have too, I've had people in college football tell me this all along, that if there's a season, every week's going to be a certain degree of hold your breath.
Yeah.
Every game, after the game, a certain degree of hold your breath. Like you and I talked about a scenario where Ole Miss plays Auburn. Yeah, Ole Miss is going to try to beat Auburn, and Auburn's going to try to beat Ole Miss. But the moment that game's over, Auburn's now cheering for Ole Miss, and Ole Miss is cheering for Auburn, because when they take those post-game tests and when guys the next Sunday and Monday, they don't want to find out that, hey, the team we just played is having a breakout, and they were at our place or we were at their place, and we were just, swapping sweat with those guys for 3.5 hours on the field. They're going to be watching that stuff, and that's why I think they're going to build the schedule ultimately with a good bit of flexibility, and they're going to build it with the ability to push games back to the end of a season or to push games back several weeks. And it's just, as we've said so many times, and you see it now with like the way Major League Baseball is having to adjust the Marlins schedule. Hey, don't go to Miami. You guys go to Baltimore instead. That kind of thing. Yeah. And so that kind of thing might happen in college football this year. I saw there, I can't remember who it was. I know I'm rambling, but somebody was talking about a schedule where they add, there's a scenario out there where the SEC plays 10 games, which would mean that Auburn's got to add 2 games.
Right.
And someone was like, well, it wouldn't be fair if so-and-so added so-and-so, but we added this ain't going to be about fair this year. You're not going to be able to make this about fair this year. This is about fulfilling a TV contract. This is about coming up with ways to get through the season, to get it to where hopefully in 2021 we can, quote, get back to normal, end quote, and have 86,000 at Jordan-Hare and all that stuff. And we're not going to do that this year. We're not going to have 86,000 people at an Auburn game this season. It's not going to happen.
No chance.
It's just not going to happen. It's not going to be a normal year. It's not going to sound the same. Like, how many people are in Auburn's band? 300 people or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
They're not going to put 300 people in the band in the stand playing the song the whole time. It's just not going to happen. It's going to be different. It's going to look different. It's going to feel different. And everybody's going to have to adjust. This is a whole new paradigm for at least one season. Hopefully it's just one season.
Reminds me of the song One Headlight by the Wallflowers, in which he says, we're going to try to drive this thing home with one headlight. You're not looking for perfection. You're just looking to get it home safely in the garage. And
yes,
I hadn't really thought about that until we started this show. And I think that's possible. That's doable. For the coaches, they can't disconnect like that, right? Like Kevin Steele, he's going out there to beat ass every single week, and that's not going to change, which is fine. He can keep doing that. But for people like Alan Green and for Gus and for Lane Kiffin and all of those folks, you just got to keep that thing on the road,
Yeah. And if you're Gus Malzahn and Lane Kiffin and any other head coach, you got to know that this is probably not the year that on-field performance is going to get you fired. Nobody's going to be able to afford to buy out anyway. I mean, everybody's losing so much money. Nobody's going to be able to buy out anybody.
No way.
This is. I mean, I've said this here for Lane Kiffin. This went from being year 1 to year 0. No one's ever going to hold this year against him if it goes badly. He didn't have a spring training. He didn't have a traditional offseason. He never got a chance to really evaluate his kids. He doesn't really know what he's got. He's not going to know. And then you throw in the COVID thing and, hey, manage this differently and coach differently and prepare differently. And in other words, hey, dude, don't worry about it. Just get through this season. Let's collect the TV money and move on.
Yeah.
It's like it's going to be like, I mean, no one, Alan Green is not going to judge Gus Malzahn on field stuff. He's just, I mean, assuming that they don't look like a complete circus wreck. But, but he's not going to say, hey, this is the year we were supposed to do this, but we lost this one game to Tennessee or whatever. It's not going to happen because it's a completely different set of circumstances for everybody. And it might be week 4, Auburn's down 6 players, and the league says, yeah, but we need you to play anyway. You know what I mean? They're isolated, and we can't really make that game work down the road, and you're playing – we've used Florida a lot, so let's lose Florida. You lose Florida again. It's Florida, and they're healthy, and we're, isolate those guys. The rest of your team is negative. Okay, y'all go play. I don't know that that's what's going to happen, but I just don't think I just think there's going to be a lot of factors involved, and I don't think competitive advantage or competitive fairness is going to be real high up on the list this year.
As we said in the chat, George is ain't talking about this being a fair year. Sounds like UGA every single year. That's what Melee said.
But am I making that point where it makes sense?
I think it makes a lot of sense. And I also want to add, this is kind of ancillary to what you were saying, but I now feel like, barring some cataclysmic issue with the Marlins and the Phillies, I think they're going to start practice. Okay. I think SEC football practice, Auburn and Ole Miss and everybody else, they're going to start practice.
Do you think they delay it, Jay, and wait for the NFL to start?
No, not practice. Maybe the games. But I think they start practice sometime in the middle of August. Maybe, this between the 7th and the 15th. And we get practice going. And they're getting in gear.
So you're expecting a regular season that begins maybe a week later than scheduled?
Yeah. I mean, again, if there's something really big that goes on with this MLB thing, I think they're all keeping their eyes on that. But they're at least going to get things in gear. I don't expect Sankey to come out later this week and be like, okay, we're shutting it all down. Like, I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't either.
I think they're going to put it in gear, and they're going to aim for, let's start our regular season on September, 15th or whatever the day is.
The 19th is a Saturday. So there's the 12th, the 19th, and the 26th. They're sort of the days that we're watching.
12th and the 19th for me. And let's see let's aim toward that point. And let's try to do the best we can, and let's just keep an eye on it week to week is what I think they're going to do. So that's great for us in this business.
Yes, sir. And the 19th would be fine. If you told me they started on the 19th and they played a 9-game season, man, I'm in. Check.
I'm in on all of it.
Yeah, and what that would let them do is it would let them put off the start of camp, if you will, to about August the 22nd or so, which means the NFL would have been in camp because the NFL starts camp this week.
Yeah.
So that would let the NFL have 3.5 weeks or so of camp, which means the NFL would have had a lot of contact practices. The NFL would have had, if they're going to have breakouts, they probably would have had, somebody would have had a breakout, and they would have been able to figure out why that breakout happened. It would give the colleges a lot of, just a lot of material to use going forward. And that also would mean that when you started on August the 19th, the NFL would have played a weekend of games.
That would be huge. One of our chatters, Boom Jabooncha, says first-year head coaches are at a massive disadvantage this year. They have like a week or two to fully implement their brand new system to an entirely new group of kids. And so I ask you that as someone who covers and watches Ole Miss, do you think that Lane Kiffin is at a major disadvantage as compared to, and also the Mississippi State coach, compared to Auburn or Alabama or Georgia?
Yeah, he said as much, and they are. I mean, he's like, it is what it is. I mean, ideally you would have had a spring to implement it. You would have had an off season where you would have been able to implement some things. And they've had meetings and they've had calls and stuff, and so they're learning the terminology and all of that stuff. But it's a completely different thing, it's like taking guitar lessons on via YouTube. And then being asked to, conduct a guitar recital, you're probably going to be a little sloppy at the recital. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any question about it. And, I think for Ole Miss, for Mississippi State, going to a completely different system under Leach than what they ran under the cat from Penn State. Can't think of his name right now. You know, Elijah Drinkwitz, it's a totally new thing. Sam Pittman, I assume it's a new thing. It's yeah. They're at disadvantages. And Andy and I talked about this. This is where they're at a distinct disadvantage, though. More than the playing field, it's the recruiting trail. Because, for example, let's take Auburn. Take Auburn and Alabama. Two coaches that have been at those campuses for a long time. They have staffs that have been at those campuses for a long time. They've been recruiting kids to Auburn and to Alabama for 2 or 3 years now. Those kids have come to their games. They've probably come to a camp. They know the high school coaches. They're connected. They've evaluated. They have a really, let's say, they don't get an opportunity. And I think this is a real possibility. They don't get an opportunity to bring those kids to official visits, to get to know them in person. They might not even get an opportunity to go to those kids' homes because of dead period stuff. They've already lost a summer. Like Lane Kiffin, Elijah Drinkwitz, they didn't have the opportunity to bring kids to Oxford and Columbia, respectively, and evaluate them at camps. Think about how many kids, Jay, come to a place like Auburn, where Auburn says, because you've had these conversations with the coaches, we like him. We just kind of want to see him in person before we decide, are we really offering?
Right.
We've offered enough to get him to campus. But now we got to figure out, is this who we really want? Because, we got about 3 kids for this one spot. We like this kid, but we need to see him run. And at the end of that camp, how many times have you heard it where a coach will be like, yeah, he's just not quite what we're looking for? Or a kid will come in and they're like, I don't know much about him. And by the end of the day, the entire family is up in Gus's office. It's like, hey, what do you like in your coffee? Because you're kissing that ass because now you want that kid. Because you got him in your drills with your coaches, and then you got him, you don't have to pay attention to Rivals or 24/7 or whatever when they say, hey, this kid runs a 4.5 40, and you're like, I don't know, can't really tell on that high school film that's what he runs. You get him in your building, and you get to control the elements and maybe even put a laser on him, and you're like, son of a bitch, he runs a 4.51, perfect, we're in. Lane Kiffin doesn't have that opportunity, so they lose out on a lot of evaluation stuff, where they have to be really careful that this doesn't become a 2-year thing, meaning where not only do they lose the recruiting for the 2021 class, but they lose the ability to really evaluate the 22 kids in time, where it could be a kind of a double whammy.
Yeah.
I think that's where they're at a distinct disadvantage. Look, Lane Kiffin, even if Ole Miss had a normal spring and a normal summer, they weren't winning this year. This was never going to be about Ole Miss winning, the SEC in 2021. That was not on the menu. So, if they don't, everybody might not go to a bowl this year. There might not be any bowls. So much of the preseason stuff was, hey, for Ole Miss, the key is just to get to a bowl game. Well, there might not be a bowl game. So, that kind of goes out the window. The key thing for them is that they don't lose the ability to develop down the road. You can have 1 year zero. You can't have 2 of them, probably.
Yeah. I was conversating with a football coach, an Auburn football coach yesterday, asking about a kid that had changed positions. And I was like, hey, man, because we were doing a position-by-position breakdown here at auburnsports.com, and I wasn't sure what to say about this kid because I didn't know much about him. And I was like, hey, is he playing this position or that position? He goes, JG, I don't even know, man. Like, I haven't had a chance to evaluate this kid. We haven't been able to do anything since he changed positions, and I can't really tell you what he's going to be good at and what he's going to be bad at.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, that's really a spot to be in, man. I hadn't thought about that. Like, I don't know what the hell we got in this kid. I don't know. So I guess he just waits, and then, in 2 or 3 days when they have a chance to maybe get out on the field and do some stuff, see what they got,
Yeah, Kiffin keeps getting asked, about quarterback, which quarterback do you like? Who's going to be your quarterback? And he's very consistently said, I want to see both of them or all of them in our system with us coaching them to see how that looks. And until you see that, how do I know? And people lose their minds like, oh, is it Plumlee? Is he hinting at Plumlee? He's not hinting at anything. He's telling you the exact truth, which is they've watched some films from last year, but they're not running the same. He doesn't run the same offense as Rich Rodriguez's offense. So what does that film mean to you? It can't mean much. And so, you're going to ask him to come in and that's that way all over the country for for people. It, and then you get into camp, and what if it's a 2-quarterback deal and one of the kids gets COVID and misses 14 days? Well, the other kid's the quarterback now. I mean, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
It's stuff like that's going to happen all over the country.
What is Rich Rodriguez doing now? Do you know?
I don't think he's coaching anywhere.
Damn. What a fall from grace, bro. I like him too.
Yeah. That was a weird offense last year. I mean, it just, I don't know. They started one way and ended another, and that usually doesn't work.
Man, surely John Rice is not going to be like this franchise quarterback at Ole Miss, right? I'm not trying to poop on the guy. I'm just saying, like, he reminded me as like just this freak athlete that, can run pretty well. I think he's a better baseball player than he's a football player, honestly. And I mean, is he really going to be the quarterback? Not
I don't
really,
know.
right?
I mean, he's got to become a lot more of an accurate passer. I mean, the thing with Plumlee is that last season they would be way behind in games, and I can't remember. I know it was this way with Alabama and with LSU, and for some reason I want to say it was this way with Auburn.
Auburn game was close.
Auburn was beating that ass, and then Auburn kind of took the foot off the pedal, and Ole Miss put up some points in the second half because Plumlee did some things, and they did that a lot. And so you don't know whether that was because he was a freshman. He was a true freshman. I think you do have to say that in his defense a lot, is that, if you're going to judge everybody by their true freshman year, well, you're going to be pretty skeptical about most people. But he put up a lot of numbers when games were already out of hand, and when games were being contested and the other team was dialed in, it wasn't particularly accurate. And this is a league where against good defenses and good defensive coordinators, if you're one-dimensional, that just doesn't typically work. And Ole Miss was pretty one-dimensional last season.
Yeah.
And Corral, on the other hand, it was his first year as a starter, and he got hurt and didn't. When he came back, the job wasn't his anymore, which I thought was a big Matt Luke mistake. I still do. Thought that was an error on his part. But Corral's got some arm talent, but he's got to make better decisions. But when you have a young quarterback, like I thought Auburn did a great job with this with Bo Nix last season. When you've got a young quarterback, he's going to make mental mistakes, and he's probably going to make a mental mistake somewhere that's going to cost you a game. But if you think he's your guy, you've got to ride with him and let him get those mistakes out of his way.
Yeah. We were talking about that on the Brain Drain the other day. I still think Auburn had I thought Auburn had a chance to beat Florida in the swamp last year, and Bo Nix, as happens to true freshmen sometimes, started just kind of getting that glazed over look, I thought, where he needed to come out of the game. And they had another freshman ready to go, Joey Gatewood, redshirt freshman, and Gus didn't do it. And I still make fun of him for it. I thought it was a weird call, and to this day, I would have put Joey Gatewood in there in the third quarter. Well, anyway, Gus was just like, from the minute I asked him on that next Sunday to like the last time I talked to Gus, where I still kind of teased him about it, he says, I would never change anything about that. Bo Nix is my guy. I'm going to roll with him. And if he sucks, I'm not quoting him now, but it's kind of his position. If he sucks, we're going to keep rolling with him, because he did not spit the bit. I didn't really think he spit the bit, but he just kind of got overwhelmed by the moment. I think you change gears there, but you're saying don't do it. He's your guy. I'm with Gus completely, because if the big picture says this is my guy, and in 2021 he's going to lead me to the promised land, we're going to play for the big prize, and you believe that as a coach, and you pay coaches a lot of money to evaluate and to believe. Yeah. And if he's saying, hey, I think this is my guy, and I do think Gus Malzahn thinks Bo Nix is his guy, no doubt, then you've got to be willing to ride through the struggles, even if it costs you a game. Even if it costs you a game, because here's what happens, Jay. Here's what happens. You bring Gatewood in, and maybe he's got this flash of brilliance, and he makes a couple of plays, and you win the game. Well, now you got an issue. Now, because you guys aren't asking about, hey, what happened? Now it's, hey, who's your quarterback? And now you've planted a seed of doubt in Bo Nix's mind. And so if you thought he was your guy, you don't want him out there quarterbacking, looking to the sideline every time that he makes a bad read, every time that he makes a bad throw. You want him to play with confidence. You want him to play like, hey, I'm the guy. This is my offense. Here we go. Because there's going to come a moment again at some point in his career where he gets a little glazed over.
where a moment feels big or he makes a mistake and he's got to be able to put that in his back pocket and go, screw it, man. Here we go. We're rolling. And I thought late in the season, Bo Nix played pretty well.
No, he did.
And I thought that was an indication that Gus had done a really good job developing him as a quarterback and also developing his confidence. I thought Nix played with a lot more confidence late in the season than he did at the beginning, which is what you'd expect from a freshman quarterback who very clearly had been given the signal by his coaches that you're our guy.
Yeah, but it sucks if you're an Auburn person and you're out there to win, right? You're paying your head coach a ton of money and you've got a good ball club to say,
yeah, but
we might be putting ourselves in a bad spot here at Florida. Like, win the freaking game, right?
But this is a big boy league, and you're not going to roll into every game and win every game in this league. I mean, there's going to be games in this league where you just take one. I mean, it just happens. And I mean, that's the nature of it. I mean, winning a game at Florida is difficult. That's why, most teams don't go to Gainesville and win.
Yeah.
It's that wasn't your day that day. I mean, that you've seen teams go to LSU and just get kind of freaked out. I've seen it. I covered an Ole Miss team in what was it, 14? Yeah, it was where they went down there undefeated, and just kind of like you said, kind of got glazed over, got out of themselves, and lost a game at Baton Rouge, and it's a tough league. So you when you play a young quarterback, if you think that's your guy, you've got to understand going into the season that we're probably going to drop one that later in his career we'd get.
Yeah. I know when it comes to drinking alcohol, I know where I like to go because it's consistently Cathead Distillery, makers of the Old Soul bourbon whiskey, which I have right here for those of you who are watching on the video stream. It's a 90 proof 3-year whiskey. It will be older in time, but right now it's 3 years. It's blended, and it is delicious. I love it. It has kind of a nutty feel to it when I drink it, but I'm on my third bottle now, and it is absolutely delicious. Cathead Distillery in Jackson, Mississippi, makers of the Hoodoo Chicory Liqueur that I enjoy so much. It's a great after-dinner drink. Also the Bristow Gin, the Standard Vodka. They also have the Honeysuckle Vodka. They have a Pecan Vodka.
Yes.
And there are so many great offerings there. I love seeing the fact that there's a group in Mississippi hustling, trying to break into that liquor business, and I think they've done a hell of a job. Their products can be bought all throughout the Southeast, and they're always pushing to get even further, get that footprint pushed out even further. But in the ABC stores here in Montgomery, they've always got the Cathead vodka, the blue, and then the gold Cathead Honeysuckle, and those are two great bases to use, even if you like to drink it straight out of the bottle, which I do myself, but they're also great as a mixer for various beverages. And I think, Neal, you were saying that you had come across a particular beverage which was a perfect complement for their pecan vodka.
Yeah, I've got the pecan vodka, and you never really know exactly what to do with it. And you always kind of think of it as a winter drink because pecan, if you think pecan, don't you kind of think holidays? Like Thanksgiving and
Sure.
Yeah, because you put, pecans on the, yeah. And so anyway, this is a summer drink though. Pecan vodka, Mississippi Mule.
Mule.
But you can make it an Alabama Mule or a Vermont Mule. I don't think it matters. I think they just said Mississippi because, Cathead's based in Mississippi.
Sure.
You take 1 ounce of the Cathead pecan vodka. You take, this calls for a cup of ginger infused simple syrup.
Yeah.
A cup of club soda, a fresh lime juiced. It's it. Oh, never mind. Yeah, that's it. Really, you put the copper mugs, you fill them with ice. You pour a half ounce of pecan vodka over ice in each cup. You add a 1/4 cup of the ginger infused simple syrup, half a cup of the club soda, juice half a lime in each mug, garnish with the lime wedge, stir, and drink up. Probably very refreshing.
I was thinking some granulated sugar and something like that, but maybe not. I think that would be a perfect use for that pecan vodka, which, again, I have it stored in my freezer and I just drink it straight out of the bottle. I think it's refreshing and tasty. But, whatever. Lots of great options for you anytime you buy a Cathead product. And, of course, we love what they do, and they are huge supporters of local eateries. They work with local eateries. They're friends with local eateries. They work very hard to get their products into the smaller bars and restaurants, certainly in Montgomery, including the Tipping Point in my neck of the woods and other spots throughout the Southeast. So they definitely support that. They obviously support live music. That's a big part of what they do at Cathead as well. So they're doing a lot of good, positive stuff in the community in addition to selling some delicious spirits. So check them out on the internet at catheaddistillery.com or at your local dealer.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Comfort and Mercy hand sanitizer.
Oh, yeah.
You can get that at the store as well. In the event that you can't find it at your store and you want to get it, you can order that online at catheaddistillery.com.
Yeah, we bought I don't know, I guess you call it a care package. I don't know. We got about 10 to 12 of these bad boys right here. And we take those and we put them into little sprayers, and we all have them in the car, each one of us, and then we have them at the house. And we went to Gatlinburg. Courtney filled probably 20 of those bad boys, and we had them available, so each person had their own sprayer, and just put that right there on your hands. I think it smells terrific. It smells like the stuff I used to get at summer camp when you're trying to get the stuff out of your ears. Very strong alcohol smell, which is what you would expect coming from a distillery, but to me, it smells fresh. It makes me feel like it's working, And
yeah.
So, yeah, Comfort and Mercy. You can order that on the internet, like you mentioned. I have not seen that in retail here, but again, I ordered it off the internet, and that's how I got it. So
yeah, you see it in retail here, but yeah, you can go to catheaddistillery.com and order to your heart's content. Good stuff.
All right, moving on. I have some concerns about my alma mater, one of my alma maters, Neal. There's a lot of talk going on right now that this pandemic is going to effectively kill off a lot of smaller liberal arts colleges. Now, I got my undergraduate degree at a place called Transylvania University, which currently has an enrollment of about 975 kids.
Ooh.
And my daughter thought very seriously about going there, and she bended the last moment. It was between Transy Ole Miss and South Alabama. She ended up going to South, basically because they had a medical school and they had a better scholarship situation for her. But boy, now I feel like we dodged a bullet with that one, because Transy schools in that size, between 500 and 1,500 kids, are really struggling to try to make ends meet. And now with all this talk about it's going to be online college, I think it's going to force a lot of kids to either take a year off or go to community college for a year because it's a lot less expensive. Why pay full tuition when I'm just going to be getting online courses anyway and not really living the life that I want to? This is something that your daughter's facing right now, Campbell, as she would love to go back to Arkansas and continue into her sophomore year.
She's going back.
Is it going to be all online? A lot of angst, but one of the things that I'm worried about is that Transylvania University may not make it through this. And, if their enrollment drops down to 800 or something, I just don't know if they're going to have enough endowment. They don't have a huge endowment. And will those schools, will people still want to go to places like that? It scares me, man. Your daughter at University of Arkansas, completely fine. And I think my daughter at South Alabama, completely fine. Those are big state schools, and they're going to make it. But it's some of these smaller places like Spring Hill College, University of Mobile, Birmingham Southern, Samford. It concerns me.
Yeah, valid concerns. I mean,
think about all the things that this virus has done,
I mean, I think it's one thing if it's, part of a semester or even one semester, you at some point, these schools are either going to, or get off the pot. You're either going to say, hey, we're open, come on, we're going to figure it out, or you're not going to make it. I mean, you're right. I mean, I just don't know how many parents are going to pay. And where it hurts you is with a freshman class. Kids who've been there for a year or two, they've got apartments and they've established new lives a little bit, and parents are like, go back because you're driving me crazy here.
Yeah, I'm having some of that myself.
But, true freshmen, a lot of times it's going to be what you just said. Parents are going to say, hey, look, that's not a real college experience, and it's not. An online-only experience is not a true college experience.
No.
If a lot of parents are going to say, why don't we take a leap year? Or what do they call a drop year or whatever, a skip year where you just get a job, work a little bit, make some money, put some money back, let your brain rest, and then we'll hit it in a year. And some parents are going to say what you said, which is, man, I'm not paying full tuition for you to take 15 online hours. Why don't you just go to a community college, get a couple of quick A's, and whatever. And again, maybe get a part-time job, have a little fun, relax, and we'll hit it next year. I think there's going to be a lot of that. And if you get enough of that, this is where colleges, in my opinion, Jay, all of them, whether they're big state schools or whether they're small liberal arts schools, they forget They're in business.
I know. I agree. It's competitive.
They're so idealistic about all of this stuff. And man, you're in business. You are in the business of getting kids to come to your school and live in your dorms and eat in your cafeterias and all of that stuff. And if you take that stuff away, guess what's next? Your job.
Mm-hmm. Well, Maddie's going. Maddie's going, and you said Campbell's going. So
yeah, Campbell's going. Absolutely, for sure. Campbell told us the other day, she said, if I have to sleep on the streets, I'm going. And I'm like, well, you don't have to sleep on the streets.
Yeah,
but I'll tell you this. Now, Campbell's scholarship is such that she doesn't pay out-of-state tuition to the University of Arkansas, but I had to set up, my little payment plan the other day, and I'm thinking, I am paying for my kid to take 12 of her 15 hours, and probably at the end of the day, 15 of her 15 hours online.
Yeah, I think Maddie's got 2 courses that are going to be for sure online to start her freshman year. It concerns me, but
yeah,
that means she's got 5 that aren't. So, or I'm sorry, 3 that aren't. So that's good. And
I was going to say, surely you're not asking that kid to take 21 semester hours.
But yeah, she was just talking to a counselor, an academic advisor, I should say, for her just like an hour ago. So making sure that she's got the right classes and what's kind of going on with that. And so she's loaded, ready to go. We're gonna move her in on the 9th and be like deuces. The irony is that that's our anniversary, wifey and I. So it's kind of like a double. I don't know if it's a double present. For me, it is. It's like, all right, you can take your salty attitude and bounce, and then it's just going to be me and Courtney. Because I'm pretty fired up about me and Courtney just hanging out because I love hanging out with my wifey now. So Maddie's been really moody lately, too. I think she's just nervous about going to college and stuff. And so she's just been riding ass, and I'm just trying to be patient with her. Like, it's okay. It's okay, Jay. I know I was not that nervous when I was that age. I was really ready to go. But, yeah, maybe it's different for her or whatever. And it's trying me, dude. I don't know. You probably didn't fight that because Campbell's such a nice, sweet person, but
I don't know about that. She was ready to go. I never sensed that she was nervous. I always sensed that she was itching to go. And this year she's gone from I'm going back on the 9th to I'm going back on the 8th to I'm going back on the 7th. And the other day I said, when do you go back? She said the 6th. And so I fully anticipate in a few days. It's like, I'm going to go back on the 3rd. And
it's going to be July.
And we're like, hey, whatever. Because, and I'm hopefully this is what you're saying about Maddie in a year. Her life's there, man. Her friends are there. She's got good friends. She's FaceTiming her friends all day long, and she's got a job up there pretty much lined up, and she's got stuff, and that's where she needs to be, and that's where her life is, and it's time for her to go back. She's been here since I went and got her. What was that, March? She's been here since March the 14th or 13th, one or the other. It's a long time to be away from college when you're a 19-year-old kid. It's been 5 months?
Yeah.
It's insane.
I would have had I every time I get a little flustered with it, I'm like, geez, get over it. Everybody's dealing with it. When my daughter's crying about different stuff, I start thinking, man, it really would suck. This never happened to us when we were that age, but
go back and put yourself in that age and how, because when you're that age, you're really self-centered. It just is what it is. It'd be a lot to deal with. It's like the young kids, man. Young kids, they really need to go back to school. They really do. I'm not going to get on that soapbox here, but they need to go back to school. Young kids need to go back to school.
Agreed. As the husband of a small child educator, I would agree completely. They need as much, particularly younger kids, they need as much interaction as possible. Social interaction, tactile interaction, if you're talking about kids that are 6 and younger. My wife's got this theory. This is probably just crackpot theory, and it's kind of straying us off course a little bit, but she's been running a child care center since 98.
I was going to say, since I've known you.
So 22 years. And then before that, she was still working with young children in an after-school program in Lexington, Kentucky. So she spent her entire adult life around kids. And she has a college degree, so we're not talking about just some crackpot. But she's got this theory about the mental acuity issues, anything on the spectrum, whether you're talking about Asperger's or autism or whatever. She thinks it's a lack of tactile functioning. Like you're not out interacting with stuff enough that it's almost like sensory deprivation, and it leads to autism. Because every time I'm like, she hates the anti-vax thing, obviously, because she's got a center and she needs these people to be vaccinated. Now,
Of course.
by law, she has to allow kids to come into her center who are not vaccinated, but they have to take a lot of extra precautions that are bad for that kid, because that kid can't be around babies at any situation and whatever. I think she's only got one or two, but anyway, she thinks autism is all linked to not having enough interaction with the environment. And then I start thinking about what you were saying. These kids need to go back to school. Yes, they do, man. Everybody needs to be back. These kids doing the things that they need to do developmentally.
Yeah, we've got to get away from all these people that are like, we just can't do it. To let's figure out how to do it.
Let's figure out how to do it.
We've got to figure out how to do it. It's got to become, and it can't be, well, as soon as the virus is gone, as soon as it's gone, we can all go back outside again. No. Nope. That doesn't work. That's not satisfactory. That is not the right answer. We've got to figure that out. Yeah, I mean, I've watched, and Carson's at the old end of this people that I'm talking about, but I've watched him this summer go from where we were kind of worried a little bit about him, kind of getting down and stuff, to he got to go back to soccer, his club team. They started back again, and he got to go to the middle school basketball workouts. And, he's going to these middle school basketball workouts, Jay, with absolutely no promise whatsoever that he's going to make the team. None. Zero. I mean, and the coach up front tells him that all the time. I mean, to his credit, hey, just because you got invited to these tryouts, these workouts, does not mean you're making the team. I just want you to make sure you know that. And Carson wants to make the team, but I'm telling you, man, you could tell him right now you're not going to make the team, but you can still work out with him. He'd go. It's being able to go play basketball with a bunch of boys and have fun and make shots and talk trash and have trash talk to you and then hang out after the practice and while you're waiting for the rides. And even though they're out there wearing masks in 90-something degree weather, you see them and they're more animated. They're having fun. They're with their friends and stuff. And he, on his way out, the kids that are playing on the middle school football team are going in for their workouts. And, he sees those guys and he's like messing with them and saying hi and stuff. And that's stuff that cannot be replicated in a Zoom class. And the younger you go down to like 6th grade, 5th grade, 4th grade, 3rd grade, when you take those kids and put them in a Zoom class for a year, I'm just telling you, we're doing damage to kids. Yeah. And people can say what they want and they can do this, but what about the teachers? And I get it, except the science says that the kids aren't vectors. The kids don't spread it. I've read that from multiple sites, multiple sources. It just, it's, and then I don't know. I'm a strong proponent of this. I think we're doing damage to kids because I think there's two things happened is that we've made it political on both sides. The Republicans and the Democrats have made it political, and then I think there's just this. In many cases, completely irrational fear that seeps in and it stops people from being able to make rational, smart decisions.
Well, I'm 100% for kids getting back to school. I don't want to put the teachers at risk, but I don't necessarily feel like that's going to happen. But it's easy for me to say as someone who's not a teacher. But I sure do know a lot of teachers who work in a particular child care center, and I know a girl who's working 6 to 6 in a child care center every day. So I have a little bit of pull on that one. To be fair, Boomja says that he has 2 autistic children. He's not sure how he feels about my wife's tactile learning theory, which, as I mentioned in the chat, she would have to be the one to explain it because I'm an idiot. I don't know exactly what she was talking about because she's explained this to me 4 or 5 times, and it just, I don't know, it doesn't resonate with me, but I don't work with kids, so a lot of the things she would say.
I can't pretend to be an authority on this.
I'm just like, oh, okay, cool. I don't know if she could run that by somebody at AUM or AU that would be, I don't know, a scientist in that realm or something. But anyway, she feels pretty strongly about it. And she's not the kind of, she's not an odd person at all, like who comes up with these crazy conspiracy theories. It just struck her years ago and she continues to talk about it. Anyway, we love you, Boomja.
For sure. I tell you who else we love, Jay.
Oh, I got an idea. Is it Stacy?
We love Stacy Wall and the people at Pinnacle Trust. This podcast is also brought to you by Pinnacle Trust. It's pintrust.com, PINNtrust.com. What they do is they provide detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and so much more. They treat investing like a commodity. Decisions are made using objective information and research, not emotions. So regardless of your level of wealth, Pinnacle Trust will sit down with you and they'll listen to your goals. They'll study your expenses. They'll put forward a comprehensive, detailed financial and retirement plan built just for you. It's pintrust.com. Mention that you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the podcast. You get 10% off your first year's fee. Another guy that we love a lot is our boy John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis, Tennessee. You want to get away. Maybe you want to get away now before hopefully we go back. Maybe you're thinking about a holiday trip like, man, this is going to be the worst fall ever. We got COVID. We got all the election stuff. Everybody's wanting to kill each other. When this is over, I want to go away someplace and enjoy my family. You can do that. Or if you're already saying, hey, you know what? I lost summer of 2020. I'm going to blow it out summer of 2021. I want to plan a trip that we'll never forget. John's your guy. He's part of Virtuoso. It's a worldwide network of travel partners that allows him to supply his clients with added values, unique benefits, simply not available to other travelers. You do what Jay and Courtney did, and that's give him a call and say, hey, here's kind of what I'm looking at. This is kind of what I want to do roughly. Here's my budget. And then you just chill for a little while and let him come up with options that you won't find on your own. And no, you don't have to live in or near Memphis to take advantage of his services. 901-494-3387 or jedwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients can save $50 off their first booked trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on this very podcast.
Yeah, so we had the trap. Everybody who listens to this show knows that Courtney and I and some of our friends had already had the trip planned through John to go to Europe, and that we just delayed that. He had to do it within a year, so I think we're supposed to be going out in May of next year. But in so doing, John was able to kind of hook us up with some stuff that he hadn't been able to do before because it was too expensive. I think some of the prices have slipped. So, yeah, this is a great time to get things going. I mean, look, man, I think we're going to get a good handle on this well before next May. That's just my opinion. I'm not trying to be a goob about it.
I do too.
But
no, I do too. I do.
So in a way, if you want to travel next year, in the spring or even later, for us, it's going to be May. This is a great time actually to get with John and kind of get the trip set up because, again, there's a lot of windows that are now available to us that we didn't have before from a price perspective. So, yeah, I'm really fired up about that trip because I think we're going to be fine by that point. I don't know if I'd go right now. In fact, I don't think they would take us right now. I know there's a lot of chatter that people don't want Americans right now because of how COVID-ridden we are. I don't know if that's true everywhere. I know Canada wouldn't let the Blue Jays play up there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they didn't want teams coming in and out.
That's right. So
then they were going to play in Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh said no. Pennsylvania said no. So now they're in Buffalo. I don't know if that's not a great place to go, is it? Like, I don't know.
Go home.
The upstate New York numbers have kind of dissipated, I think.
Well,
but I don't know. I'm with you. I do think we're closer to the end of it than to a place where it's not constant. I think we're closer than maybe people think.
Our friend Shannon Weaver, who used to be an assistant basketball coach here at Auburn and now lives in Louisville, was showing us on his Facebook feed the other day that one person under the age of 39 has died in the state of Kentucky this year from COVID. One.
Well, just wait 2 weeks, man.
Well, I mean, that's what the Florida governor said, and things have gotten kind of bad down there, but
I know.
It's interesting. I mean, in the state of Kentucky, I'm not an expert on this. Leif might be, but one person under the age of 39. So, I mean, we're talking about you get struck by lightning. That's how likely that is. So, hopefully.
See, when I say this, everybody goes, what are you doing? You're trying to be Clay Travis? It's like, no. But I read a lot of stuff, and it's not. It's like this morning when the Marlins thing came, all the people who immediately went, shut it down. Like, I read a guy say we should shut down for 6 weeks. We should shut down 90% of our country for 6 weeks, and it'll be gone. And it's like, man, I mean, do you know what that entails? It drives me crazy. I mean, it doesn't. There's no way we could do that. I mean, the economic catastrophe would be. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm generally not worried about economic catastrophe so much as I'm worried about people's health. But I hate to sound like Clay Travis, and I'm not. I'm not Clay Travis. I'm not a truther per se, but I'm also not scared the way that some other people are. I mean, my friends from different parts of the country, just every time I talk to them about it, they're like, you go out to eat? I'm like, yeah, I do. Why? because I'm just living my life, man. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'm following all the regulations that they asked me to do. Wear a mask everywhere, wash my hands, take the Comfort and Mercy with me everywhere I go. Like, I feel safe. I'm not worried. If I get it, I get it. But I'm not out there licking handles and, like, making out with strangers, although sometimes I wish it kind of was. But, I'm just trying to be a responsible member of society, and that includes me continuing on with my life in a safe manner. But that's not the way it is in other parts of the country, guys. I know most of the folks watching on this show are in Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and Tennessee, but I think some folks out in California and Washington, D.C., and Maryland and Colorado, I think they're living a different life right now. I don't know if it's good or bad for them. I think it kind of makes me think that they're just being a little hypersensitive. But, my friend JB and Crystal, they live in suburban Washington, D.C., and they don't do anything. I mean, they're basically locked in the house. And
I saw people saying the other day was like day 143 without leaving the house. I was like, what?
What? Why?
Yeah.
I leave the house every single day, and I'm fine.
I
don't know. I know I'm one person. Everybody's like, well, you're just one person, JG. Well, that's true. And my wife works in a child care center where there's been positive tests. She's okay.
I'm just now thinking about it. I don't think I've left the house since Friday. I need to leave the house.
Why did you not? Well, you had the party come to you, though, on Saturday, right?
Yeah. I did things, yeah. And then yesterday I worked, and I watched the Thunder, and then I watched the Cubs. I watched a lot of baseball yesterday. I gotta be honest with you. I thought I didn't miss sports or whatever, and sports came back, and I was kind of binging. I watched a lot of baseball yesterday. I watched Cubs, Brewers, Angels, A's.
Yeah, that has not been my experience. It's not been my experience. I watched an entire inning of baseball. I think I'd had enough. I mean, I love baseball stats, but I don't love watching baseball. I watch the A's and the Angels. I don't know. NASCAR is about the only thing I'm watching now with any regularity. I like NASCAR.
Yeah, see, I don't know that I could watch NASCAR for very long.
But I will watch NBA.
Yeah.
I'm pretty fired up about that. So
They start back on Thursday night, and that's I think their quality of play is going to be pretty good. I'm excited for that because I live with a 13-year-old kid who freaking loves the NBA, and so he's basically counting down hours. And so, yeah, so you're excited for him. I mean, he likes baseball, and he watched some of it. And it's kind of on in the background, but he'll get locked into some basketball when it starts back up.
Word.
He likes his boy Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. That's his guy.
University of Kentucky graduate. Just
I know,
SEC.
Kentucky Wildcat. All right, that's going to do it for episode number 108 for Greatest Pod in the South, presented by ACS. Don't forget, it's ACSLLCMS.com. If you want to check them out, tell all those guys there that you heard about it right here on the pod. And I think our plan, I don't know exactly what our plan is. We'll put it out on social media. Is it Sunday or Monday? Is it we're trying to do?
We're supposed to be on Sundays. We moved to Monday because of me. And then I was in Gatlinburg last week, excuse me, and we had to go to Wednesday. That was all my fault. But normally, I think, all things considered, it should be on Sundays.
Yeah, I in our group text today, I realized because Gabe was like, I can do this day, and you were like, I can do that. I can do pretty much any day because I have no life, and so I can do whatever.
Yeah, I think Gabriel wants a little bit more scheduling than you and I do because we just kind of do it, Like, we're like, let's just go, man. And Gabriel likes to know.
He's much more of a planner than you are.
He is. I'm
kind of in the middle. I'm more of a planner than you are, but I'm not as much of a planner as he is.
Are you saying that I'm not a planner?
I'm just saying you are a little more fly by the seat of your pants than I am, and I'm much more that way than he is.
I'm tired of you making fun of me. So I guess the next time I see you is going to be on the Rivals Publisher Conference, right?
Yeah, if you could put that kind of peer pressure on me. I got to sign it. Have they sent out a link to sign up for it yet?
I don't know.
Yeah. I'll be there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right, so I'll see you on Thursday, and then we'll see you guys back hopefully on Sunday afternoon for episode 109 of Greatest Pod in the South. For JG Tate, I'm Neal McCready. You guys take care. Talk to you soon. Bye.
All right, brother.
All right, my man. That was fun.
Avery says, I like randomly getting the YouTube alert. Keeps me on my toes. All right, brother.
All right, bye.
I'll see you at the Publisher Con.
Okay.
That's it. There he goes, Neal McCready. And another GPITS in the books. I mean, we've been doing it on Mondays lately, like probably the last 6 weeks, something like that. but I think in a perfect world, we do it on Sundays. And we bounced off of that for some reason. It was my fault. And then we went to Mondays. And then last week we went on Wednesday because I was in Gatlinburg, or we were driving back from Gatlinburg on Monday. I didn't get back. And I would have done the show. I brought everything with me to Gatlinburg to do the show. And then I couldn't. The internet was just so bad. It was the only thing wrong with that cabin because the cabin was awesome. And yeah, I choked on water. I don't know if you guys saw that. I choked on water with about 5 minutes to go. And then I had to pull my mic out because I was choking so bad. And you guys are like, uh-oh, he's got COVID. No, I'm good. I'm good. Totally good. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you guys for watching the video and for listening to GPITS. Our listenership is actually great. I'm shocked at how much. It seems like each week we get a few more listeners. And for Neal and I mean, we talked about this show for like 2 years before we even started it. And then a Cathead jumped on, and we started doing it. Now ACS is involved, Cathead as well. Our friends at Penn Trust and John Edwards at Regency Travel. So I just can't believe how much it's grown, and it's because of you guys. So thank you very much for that. All right, we'll wrap it up there, I reckon. Another one in the books. Thank you guys for being part of the show and for subscribing. Most of you guys are probably subscribers at Auburn Sports or Rebel Grove, but if you're not, you should be. RebelGrove.com is your number one source for all Ole Miss information, run capably by Neal McCready. As you see there, Neal McGreefy, as I know him, and also Chance the Yapper. Works with him as top lieutenant. And then for me at auburnsports.com, it's me, BMAT, Jay Lee, and young Nate is our intern. And let's see, on our show tomorrow, the rundown, we're not going to have Jay Lee, but we are going to have me, BMAT, and I reckon Nate King. We'll see if we can get Nate with us as well at the at Voodoo Wing Company. Let's see. Your alert came right at the end of his live podcast. How about that? I did see that earlier when I was getting the show ready. I saw that they were live. I was like, oh, shit. Canoe Man says, where is the Cathead cap? I have two. They're downstairs. And I'm getting my hair did today, so I didn't want to come in with hat head. I really need to do something here. I mean, this is terrible. Also, my dog. I just lost my headphones. My dog ate my headphones. He got a hold of these yesterday and just absolutely just demolished them, dude. I mean, all the ear pads are gone. The stuff that was inside is gone. He chewed the connector off. I mean, dude, it's over. That's a wrap. Bastard. We were just complimenting him at dinner yesterday for being such a well-behaved dog and not tearing shit up, and then he did it. A cat head, hat head. It's good stuff, Canoe Man. I don't know. I'm thinking about getting my hair actually cut, you know. It's just annoying. Like, I always kind of wanted to have long hair, see what it was like, you know, but I realize how annoying it is. And I know why Man Bun Guy, a.k.a. Ben Wolk, always put it in a man bun. It's a pain in the ass. Canoe Man says, no, Jazzy Joe. That's a great idea. I will text Jazzy Joe and see what he's doing. Because sometimes he's around, sometimes he's not. You know, he's a long-haul trucker. Or actually, he's a regional trucker now. And sometimes he's around, sometimes he's not. So we'll see. Jazzy Joe, the rumor is that Jazzy Joe has an auburnsports.com logo on his truck now. He asked for one repeatedly. I gave him one, and he was really fired up and said he's going to get it put on there. I'd love to see it. Jazzy Joe is a special one, man. He's awesome. He is super enthusiastic about his Auburn Tigers and auburnsports.com. So we love Jazzy Joe. One of the all-time greats for sure. Of course, Canoe Man, you're in that group as well. You and Call Me Biscuit, Pocket Watch. Hey, you Taxman, you guys are always around. Appreciate y'all so much. Let's see. Boom Jaboonjas as well. The Clay Travis thing impacted you the other way this week. Is that me? Yeah, I don't know. I don't listen to in fact, I don't listen to any Clay Travis. It's just basically what Neal, I think, listens to him, and another one of my friends listens to him. So I kind of get it secondhand. It seems like he's a COVID truther is what his deal is. I met him at the national championship game in Arizona. It was my first time having even heard of him. I think that was before he got big, and he seemed like the kind of guy that just, I mean, he was fine. He was just like, he felt to me like an aspiring Pat Forty, like he was trying to be like Pat Forty. Those guys, they have a certain way that they kind of bellow their opinions about things, and I think they want everyone to hear them, like actually in proximity to them when you're standing in a press box with them. But, I don't do that. McCready doesn't do that. They probably look down on me as like some, parochial goober, which maybe I am. I probably am. I am. Let's see. Boom just says about Clay Travis. We cater to the same audience. SEC football fans. All right. Melee says, I don't listen to Clay. I get the summary by looking at Twitter. That's enough for me. I'm going to be honest with you, man. Now, so Neal was off of Twitter for like a minute. Like, was it even a week? And I thought that his reasoning for going off of Twitter was really, really good. And I supported it. And then he came back. And I'm not going to hate on Neal. Obviously, he's, one of my really good friends, and I like him. But I have been very tempted to get off Twitter myself. I think I could make it with just the auburnsports.com account, just sending out our content for folks that get it through Twitter. Because the last thing I want to do is get on some Twitter fights, which I kind of got dragged into one, like a half one. It was more like a slap fight last week. I wasn't even involved in that shit, and they kind of tagged me in it, and I didn't even want to be part of it. I don't use it to raise hell with anybody. I don't talk bad about Alabama. I just don't want to fight on Twitter. I don't have any interest in getting MF'd by some random guy whose name is Howie Feltersnatch or whatever. I mean, we have a bunker member named that, but I'm just saying some random Slipbanger 69 or whatever going to call me a bad name or whatever. Boom just says, is he actually tweeting? I mean, he's tweeting insofar as like he's reactivated his account, and I think he's retweeting Ole Miss or Rebel Grove stuff. Canoe Man said literally a minute. I mean, really, like it was like 60 seconds. I know now Gabriel deactivated his Facebook account, and I think that one's going to actually stick. Now, he wasn't a big Facebook guy anyway, so I don't really know what he's accomplishing with that, but I don't think I would quit Facebook. I know that they're using that information for nefarious reasons or whatever, but listen, I know. I'm just some goober, site runner, message board moderator, part-time streamer. Like, if some Chinese hacker wants to find out about JG or whatever, like, knock yourself out. I'm an open book, all right? I just don't have a lot of interesting stuff going on. I'm not rich. I'm not connected to the CIA or the KGB or anything like that. So, if Facebook's going to be the conduit, so be it. I don't do anything on there. That's crazy. And then, Twitter. I spend as little time on Twitter as possible, honestly. I've mentioned this on a couple shows. I go to Reddit now. It seems like Reddit, it's more civilized. Not that it's perfect, but it's more civilized. And I actually get a lot of my news through that because they link stuff on there. Let's see. Boom just said, I told him on the Rebel Grove board if he let the account lapse, a State fan was going to grab the handle and turn it into a parody account. Yeah, I think he had until like the 15th of August or something like that. Canoe Man says, I'm a darn good yodeler. I doubt that. Okay, everybody, here we go. Aw, shh, aw, shh, aw, shh. That's the song they used to sing at Alfredo's in Tulsa. It's called the Donkey Song. AITA on Reddit is my favorite, which stands for Am I the Asshole? Yes, that is very fun to me. Let's see. AITA is good. I'm a member of one called Bikini Bottom Twitter, which is basically just SpongeBob memes, which is funny. I get a kick out of that. I'm on Reddit Public Freakout, which is like 25% funny and 75% just like shit that I either have seen before or don't care about. And then I usually read through the popular tab, which a lot of times ends up being like gaming shit, like Destiny or I don't just pass right over it, but some of it's pretty funny. And there's a lot of Ask Reddit questions. There was one yesterday that was like, What was the telltale sign that you had cancer survivors on Reddit? What's the telltale sign that you had cancer? And so everybody's got these stories, and all it did is start make me think, oh man, my finger hurts. So I stopped reading it. It's bad for you. Leif B says we need a GPITS call-in after show. Maybe. I mean, I don't. Yeah. I mean, you're such an active caller on our regular show, though. I mean, we love having you there. Love having you there. I don't think Canoe Man's called in, but he's always there with us. And same for Biscuit. No, call me Biscuit. You've called in, I think. At least once. Canoe Man says I get most of my news from where Mike Gundy directs me. Oh, man. Open the line. I'm not opening the line, Leif. Even though I know you and I love you. I don't have any way to have, I can't tell people what's going on. But I tell you what, for next week, we'll switch it. I can do one of these transitions and we'll go to interface or whatever. You like that little blue flame, by the way? Colors. The greatest pod in the South colors. ACS looks like crimson. Different colors, though. Boom Jaboom just says, I think that's why he reactivated for fear that somebody else was going to take it. He said, I made a great point. I don't think he's actually going to start tweeting again. Okay. He was, I think he was, though. Like, he wasn't out there talking smack or anything, but I think he was commenting on the suspension for the Sam Williams, I think. So I will get a call-in thing. Avery says it's very Game of Thrones. She's near Winterfell. Hubble and Flame. Canoe Man says one of these days I might call into the brain drain, but it would be a major letdown. It would never be a letdown, bro. Let's see, we got some old Hobbiton folks. I know Stu Pup's been around for a minute. A Hobbiton Flame. I used to run a blog back in the 2000s called the hottest Auburn blog in the net, known as the Hobbiton. And we had a small but very dedicated and friendly group of folks that would post on there. Probably, I don't know how many there were, Stu. 25, 40, somewhere in that range. So, I really liked it. It was a simpler time, At auburnsports.com, we've got thousands of people. I mean, I don't know how many frequent posters we have. 500, 750, I don't know. But, do we have pictures of Jill Arrington? I mean, I have to go to the brain drain stuff. Of course we do. We always got Jill Arrington ready to go. You know that. And this gal right here. We also had our bourbon. We were drinking Old Ezra the other day, which actually did me really well. We ended up drinking about a third of the bottle. Oh, you guys can't even see it. Duh. We ended up drinking about a third of the bottle. 117 proof, is that right? Yeah, 117. So this stuff's hot. The Old Soul treats me better. The Old Soul, it's easier to drink. This is a really, I mean, to me, like to somebody who's a novice and says, I don't really know what I want, I would encourage him to drink some Old Soul, because to me, it's a polite bourbon. It's not going to punch you in the face. To me, it has kind of a nutty flavor, which is something, it sounds weird if you're not a bourbon person, but it's actually pleasing, I think. Jim Beam has sold about 1 billion bottles, and they have kind of a nutty flavor too. But it's just inoffensive and friendly. I don't know. It's just very drinkable, and it's not gonna make you do that at all. Let's go back to this. Edit Jill's head onto Wonder Woman would be believable. Those two right there. Oh, there's another girl. Get which one it was, though. No. Same girl as the one I've already shown you. That girl. I think her name's Jenny Deal or something like that. She's really pretty, too. Those two are Because I don't know who that girl from the Red Sox is. I don't even know who she is right now, but I didn't know her before somebody mentioned her on the brain drain, but she's great. Let's see. Georgia Rebel says 94 is enough for me. 94 proof. I feel like, 80 to 94. No, well, let's call it 95. Hell, I'll go as high as 100. 80 to 100 is a good proof. Old Soul's 90, which is right in that sweet spot. And you've got some that are just super hot. Jenny Dell, Canoe Man reminds me, is the girl from the Red Sox. George Rebel says the golf interview girl after the round smoking. Well, I have Jenny on there right now. I can cut her off though. Wrong one. Yeah, that's the golf girl. See, I don't watch any golf, so I wouldn't know. But yeah, she's good. She's good at what she does. Stoop Up said, you ever seen the Rick James aura on the Chappelle Show? And Jill Arrington had that same aura in 2001. She was fire. That's around the time that I had lunch. Well, not. I was in the Georgia press box eating alongside of her. It was probably around 90. What did I say 90? 2001. It was like 2004, 2005. And I remember thinking at the time, that's the hottest girl I've ever seen in my entire life. Melee says, is Elijah Craig 94 or 92? I don't have any in front of me, so I don't know. These are things that I feel like I should know, but I don't. I don't drink a ton of Elijah Craig. It is good, though. Melee says, Old Granddad Bottle and Bond 100 is good. It tastes more like a rye to me. To me, it has an earthy taste. But okay, I'm take it back. That's not the Bottled and Bond. That's the 114, which I like. But if it was any more earthy than it is, I would not like it. And then there's something called Knob Creek. No, I take it back. It's not Knob Creek. It's Rowan's Creek, which is a Willet product. That is too earthy for me. I don't. That's the thing about Willet. I really enjoyed my tour there. I love Willet. I love what they stand for. It's kind of a small operation. It's a family. I mean, I like it. I don't really like their stuff very much. I mean, this is an unpopular opinion, but I would rather drink Old Soul than drink anything from Willet. But that's just me, you know. That's just what it tastes like to me. Leif B says, I missed the Chappelle Show. Little known fact, I'm not going to tell you guys who I am on Reddit because I feel like that's a private matter, but my all-time, I had one post that I made in a thread about Chappelle and his co-writer Neal Brennan. This is back years ago. I mean, I don't know, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. And I made this really long post in defense of Neal because I feel like Neal was the co-writer for Chappelle Show, and a lot of times, I mean, people like me and people like Leif who are like big Chappelle Show fans, we know who Neal Brennan is, and he's still legitimate. I mean, he had a Netflix special that I think it debuted last year, where he had like 3 different stages, kind of, and he was doing different gigs on each stage. It was pretty kick-ass, actually, but he's not like Dave. I mean, Dave's one of the all-times. Neal is more of a thought-provoking comedian rather than stream of consciousness like Dave is, or just a storyteller like Dave is. But so I made this big, long post in defense of Neal Brennan without shitting on Dave, because I love Dave too. And I'm telling you, like, of all the things in my life, like, the relationship of Neal Brennan and Dave Chappelle is just like something I obsess over, because those guys for those 2 years, and it should have been 3 years, were putting out the stuff that, like, comedy that defines my life, right? Those guys together, and then Sam Kinison define my life from a comedy perspective. And so anyway, it got like a billion. I think it must have made like hottest in Reddit or whatever. I wasn't paying attention at that time. I wasn't as aware of how Reddit works, but it got like more than 1,000 upvotes or something, and it just kind of took off. I was kind of proud of myself, but I didn't know that it was that big a deal. Melee says Chappelle gave Neal huge props when Chappelle was given that Mark Twain Award for comedy. Yeah. I did not watch that acceptance speech. And the reason I didn't is kind of because of what you were saying. I was afraid he was going to gloss over Neal, so I didn't want to watch it. It would have pissed me off. But you say that he actually gave Neal a lot of credit, and now it makes me want to watch it. So, Canoe Man says they were absolutely magic together. It's it's applicable in so many ways, man. I mean, Dave and Neal are nothing alike. Nothing alike. Like, Neal is this bombastic, Dave is this bombastic dude, kind of a stoner. And then Neal's kind of like this anxious dude who's just super tight, and Dave's like super loose. And they're not similar, but they harmonized in a way that most people don't. The way the Beatles did. Different venue, but same concept. For me, Chappelle Show's Hall of Fame. It's not even Hall of Fame. It's like the greatest. It's like the Babe Ruth. Boom Jaboom just says Neal gave a speech to Dave honoring him. Yeah. I was really bummed out when that show went down, and I blamed Dave for a long time, and now I don't. I understand what happened on that now. And I learned about it. It was because of what I think it was Neal talking on Joe Rogan's show back when Joe Rogan was like normal. This is probably 4 or 5 years ago. And he said that Comedy Central, their ploy when they had to renegotiate to start season 3 was to break them apart because they were inseparable, and they were trying to tell Dave, hey, we can't pay Neal what we pay you. You're the star. He's just some dude who writes. And I don't necessarily think that Dave was on board with that, but it was just that it just kind of created a division between those two that broke the show up. And Dave also had misgivings about lampooning black culture while at the same time feeling like he needed to promote black culture, kind of playing both sides of the fence. And I think that caused some of it too, but it was just frustration over Comedy Central. And I don't think I'm breaking any news to those of you who are like Dave Chappelle super fans like me, but when he talked about Iceberg Slim in the Bird, in his Netflix special, it's called like the Bird something. That's all about the whole Iceberg Slim story is a parable about what happened with him in Comedy Central and Neal. And Boom Jaboom just says you're going to cry when you see Neal's speech. I'm going to have to watch it now. I'll do it right now as soon as we end here. I bet I will too, because that stuff just really means a lot to me. But anyway, the whole Iceberg Slim thing is a parable for what happened with Comedy Central. And I think Dave was disillusioned and he just backed out. Instead of doing something that he felt like was inauthentic, he just backed out because he could. He had enough money and he had enough relevance that he could do that, which is what everybody should be aiming for, and Dave deserved it. He had earned that. He and Neal. And so I thought Neal was kind of a forgotten guy for a while, but it sounds, I don't think he is now. I know he and Dave have definitely patched it up, and as you can tell by what they were talking about, talking about at the Twain Award and all that stuff. And I just really wanted to make sure that Neal ended up doing what he wanted to do because he deserves it too, just like Dave does. And I think he is. I think he's doing what he wants to do. I'm telling you guys, I don't even know those guys, and it makes me want to cry about it. I just get so absorbed in it. It's weird. It's just one of those little pet projects, man, that I'm really into. And yeah, those two together, just absolute, just magic, man. Defines my life. Like Jeffrey's the same way. Jeffrey Lee works with me at auburnsports.com. Like his whole life is just like Comedy Central sketches, you know what I mean? And we quote them back to each other, and it seems like every situation has some kind of an element of a sketch, whether it's Rick James or it's the World Series of Dice or just whatever. It's just endless hours of just happiness for me. All right, guys, I'm just babbling. I'm just going down a rabbit hole because it's 4:00, and that's kind of what I do at 4:00, I guess. So I'm going to put this show together for the GPITS folks. Probably will be up on the feed later today. I'm not going to do it right this minute. Probably going to watch this Neal Brennan thing first. Then I'm going to get my hair done, get my hair cut, whatever. See what happens on that. So thank you guys for watching. Let's see. Boomja Boomja asks, have you seen the Joe Rogan Kevin Hart interview about Chappelle being the GOAT? I think I've seen part of it. I like Kevin Hart a lot too. I think he belongs in that group. I think he would get along. I know he gets along with Dave. I think he would get along with Neal too. And like Donnell Rawlings, he was Ashy Larry. I mean, he's the bald-headed dude. He worked with them a lot. Obviously, Charlie Murphy worked with them a lot. Oh, man. Player haters, all that stuff. It's funny. It's interesting. Canoe Man says, I'm Riach Biatch, which I guess is technically from the reparations sketch initially, because Donnell was a guy in a truck that was like, they were asking him about reparations, and he said, I'm Riach Biatch. And it ended up being kind of like it lasted throughout the show, it seemed like. Name's Leonard Washington. Where am I from? Little town, ton none of your business. Want this role? You're going to have to shoot me. Okay. Notice that he shot him below the waist. That is not considered attempted murder. R.I.P. Charlie Murphy. He did die. The whole Prince thing, I didn't think that was funny to me. I mean, it wasn't bad, but I just didn't think it was his best stuff. Let's see. Leif B says Joe Rogan says Chappelle is the GOAT. I mean, he's never going to be for me because Sam Kinison for me is the GOAT, but Chappelle would be in the top 5 of all. He might be higher. He's probably top 3 for me. And I refuse to let Neil Brennan out. If we're going to put Chappelle up there, for me, it's Neil Brennan too. Because I just refuse to let Neil Brennan slide. But Sam Kinison's the one for me. I mean, I've actually been to his grave and sat there and talked to him. That's how serious I am about Sam Kinison. It's in Tulsa, Oklahoma. When Auburn plays at Arkansas, I fly to Tulsa so I can visit that grave, which is right near where I grew up. Just a couple blocks away. Boonja Boonja says, I hate you. I don't even know you, and I hate your guts. I hope all the bad things in life happen to you and nobody else but you. That's the stuff, man. That's the stuff. Canoe Man says the Prince stuff was real and just a reenactment, which is why I do not think it was nearly as funny. I mean, it just the Prince thing is just kind of bagging on Prince, but I think, yeah, like you said, it was a reenactment, and Prince is insanely cool dude. I was reading a story just recently about how so Stevie Nicks, when she was I'm still babbling, guys. If you guys don't like it, I don't blame you for turning it off. When Stevie Nicks went from Fleetwood Mac and she was doing the solo stuff in the early 80s, she had a song called Stand Back, which I really liked. I'm not necessarily the biggest Stevie Nicks fan, but I like that song Stand Back. And I loved how it kind of had that moody synthesizer, which I didn't think she recreated in any of her other music. Well, I've learned about what happened. It's that she had asked Prince to come help her on a record, and he showed up one night. This is just randomly out of nowhere. And she was like, hey, I need you to help me with this song. And he just shows up, and the whole the whole beginning of that song, he just pulled that out of his ass. He's just sitting there and comes up with it. And the whole background, that's the spine of a really good song, is that synthesizer hit, and he's just sitting there doing it. Okay, so they tape it, the instrumental part, and they've got the vocals on, but it's not a finished product yet. But Prince lays down that synth track, and he says, "I love you, I'm out." And that's it. It just comes in and out that fast. Dude just shows up. And so the song Stand Back is all Prince, man. I mean, she sang it, but he designed that one night, sitting in a control room somewhere in Los Angeles. He just drops that, which is, I think, brilliant, and just bounces, moving on to be Prince somewhere else. Melee says those keyboards sound like 1999 type sound. It would have been right there in that same, 80. So she played that song at US Festival 83. So I'm guessing that song was recorded in 82, which would have been right when he was working on 99. That actually was released I think the album 1999 was released in 1983, I believe. It could have been late 82. But she performed it at US Festival 83. I think she was super high, though. If you watch it on the video on YouTube, her singing Stand Back, she just seemed really out of it. And it didn't have the passion that it deserved. But that's just my opinion. She still looked hot, though. Canoe Man says Prince was insanely talented. I think the argument could be made he's the most talented musician we've ever had. I mean, of our lifetime. That includes the Beatles. That includes Elvis Presley, who are incredibly talented, but he did more. He could sing, he could write, he could produce, he could play all his own shit. He negotiated his own contracts, sometimes good, sometimes bad. I mean, the great story about Prince Rogers Nelson is that he comes to Los Angeles from Minneapolis, right? And he's like, whatever he is, 18, 19, 20 years old. And he's like, I want a contract and I don't want anyone to tell me what to do. I want to produce my own shit and do my own stuff. I mean, can you imagine? Like, this kid has no background. He's just a dude. And he's like, I want to do my own record. Like, nobody's going to do that. And he eventually got Warner Brothers to kind of bite on it, like halfway. And they said, hey, man, we'll give you editorial control, but you do need to have a producer of our choosing just to work with you. And so they did, 3 albums or something like that. The Darling Nikki shit, whatever. And then he gets to 99, and I think he's taken over at that point, and then just, you know what I mean? Like, he was good before that too, but yeah, he could do everything. Buddy Holly, he died very, very young, but Buddy Holly I think he had that ability. He was a tremendous singer. He could play all of his own instruments. He wrote his stuff. He produced his own stuff. He had a chance. Buddy Holly could have been really, really big. I don't necessarily think as a singer himself, but in some way. I don't know if he would have been like a David Foster type or if he would have been like a Dr. Dre type, not in rap, but I mean in rock and roll. But I think Prince is off the charts. Just all the stuff he could do. And it's amazing he kept it together as long as he did. Yeah. All right. We'll let it sit there. 1999 is a great album, though, for those of you who aren't familiar with it. You got Let's Pretend We're Married, 1999, Little Red Corvette, Delirious. Those are all really good. I don't know. Canoe Man says one of the many greats that died so young at 27. I guess you're talking about Buddy Holly. It's around the I guess he would have been about that age. It's the day the music died. Died with the Big Bopper and Richie Valens. Oh, wait. Canoe Man says he was much younger. This is not stuff. My dad would be so mad at me right now. Because he was really into stuff like this. Buddy Holly died. He was age 22. He was 22 years old. Damn it. It says, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page for him, and it says associated acts is Waylon Jennings. What is that? In early 1959, he assembled a new band consisting of future country music star Waylon Jennings on bass. Future music star. How about future, like, grandfather of country music? Like, that guy, Waylon Jennings? He's more than a star, in my opinion. Golly, that sucks, dude. 22. Leif B mentions almost Waylon Jennings. He was supposed to be on that plane. All right, guys. I'm going to watch this Neal Brennan video. I'm going to go get my hair did. I'm going to edit and mix this podcast, and then we'll be on our way. Appreciate you guys listening, watching. Next week, we will shoot for a post-game call-in show. If you guys are interested, we'll just see how that works out. I know I can count on Leif B to call in. And we ought to talk about some other stuff, too. I'd rather just talk about regular stuff. I don't know. There's something that's just going on. Not politics and not sports, just kind of whatever. Canoe Man says, look what Waylon said to Buddy before the flight. He had a hard time living with it. Oh, man. I haven't heard the story. That's crazy. 22. My dad would absolutely kill me for not knowing that, too. He was big on the day the music died. Like, that was just a big deal to him. He was a big Buddy Holly guy. My dad was born in 48, I think, so he would have been 10. But I think he listened to the Buddy Holly and the Crickets records. All my love, all my kiss, and you don't know what you've been missing, oh boy. Oh boy, when you're with me, oh boy. I mean, that's a great rockabilly stuff right there, man. Like Hall of Fame. All right, guys. Appreciate y'all hanging around. We still have a lot of viewers. I'm baffled, but that's great though. And so we'll work on the call-in show next time, like they do with Stern when they do the wrap-up show with John Hine and Baba Booey, Baba Booey. All right, guys. Peace out. Love you guys. See you next time. Deuces.